From a pumped-up police presence in Calgary to building tradition with no stone left alone, the prospect of high-tech daylight, and could Canada land a spot on Eurovision? Our Primetime This Week panel is in. And joining us this evening, Ellen Parker, founder and CEO of Parker PR in Calgary, and Tom Keenan is a professor in the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape at the University of Calgary, and of course, author as well of Technocreep. Good evening to you both. And let's begin with Calgary Police cracking down on crime. On Wednesday, more than 100 officers were dispatched into the Corps.
If people are committing criminal behaviors or people are breaking the law, we will arrest them. This isn't a one and done. This just isn't us showing up and then walking away and then not coming back for months and months later. Operation Order, as it's known, aims to connect people with social service supports while enforcing bylaws and laws related to drug use, possession, trafficking, and violent offenses. Now, this man who has been taking shelter at the Mustard Seed says he was issued a $220 ticket for allegedly tossing a cigarette butt.
He's going to stop me from probably another month because I have to pay it. Homeless people, if you don't house them right away, they're going to get worse. They're going to start selling drugs. They're going to start stabbing people. And that issue of housing for many is a central theme.
Safety is primary concern, and operations like today is part of that solution, along with housing and programming and placemaking.
Through the day, police responded to more than 160 calls and made 20 arrests. Ellen, what does this reflect to you about changing dynamics in Calgary?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of unfortunate that it's come to this, to be honest with you, because it really is bad here. And I am in 100% support of what's happening with the police. I feel like I live in Kensington. And, I do have, of course, so much empathy for anybody who's struggling with addiction, but whose safety trumps whose safety at this point? My son this week, he finally took the train down to watch the Flames game. Had this not happened, I would not have let him do that, quite honestly. We go down to the river often with our family, and what we see down there is unbelievable. I really believe that one little clip about the guy complaining about the ticket from throwing a cigarette butt just doesn't speak to reality, and it doesn't speak to the truth of what's happening. You can see it with your own two eyes. There's so much illegal activity happening in the streets, and I am just grateful that we finally have action happening, and I hope that it continues, and I hope that things get cleaned up downtown.
Tom, how do you see this one-day initiative going over with Calgarians? Is this the response that will turn the tide, especially downtown?
So my first thought is they've been watching all these ICE raids in the U.S. and they went, we got to do something like that here in Calgary, right? To be fair, they weren't wearing masks. They weren't using unmarked vans, but they definitely were marching down the streets, and it kind of had that feel to it. There is an old theory from 1982 they call the broken windows theory. And the idea is that if you let windows get broken and graffiti stay up there and so on, it encourages disorder. This has been largely discredited by the urban planning experts, because what they say is there's a correlation but not really causation. And the root causes here, as Ellen mentioned, are more things like drug addiction and being unhoused. I was a little stunned to see that guy get the $220 ticket, and there's very unlikely he's going to be able to pay it. But one thing that occurred to me is there's surveillance cameras all over the place downtown. Maybe they're not using them well enough. And I'll tell you very quickly, in Hong Kong, they sent people around to pick up cigarette butts that people discarded, and they took the DNA from it. And they didn't try to identify the person, but they made a composite of what the person would look like. So next week when you walk by where you dropped a cigarette butt or spit out the chewing gum, there was a picture of someone who looked like you saying, horrible, shameful person.
Oh my, isn't that interesting? Okay, next up for us, the ever-expanding tradition of no stone left alone as Remembrance Day draws near. Students gathering at Edmonton's Beachmount Cemetery, site of the first No Stone Left Alone ceremony 15 years ago.
How we remember the soldiers, and that even though sometimes we forget about them, we should always remember how they fought for us.
It is a ceremony now playing out across 9 countries.
What they take away is the appreciation for the lives we live in Canada and the service and sacrifice of the Canadian Armed Forces. And hopefully they take it to their communities and to their family members.
And honoring the memories of those who fought and died for our country resonates with the veterans of today.
When the youth are involved, we teach young Canadians to remember, and we're not just honoring the past, we're protecting the future. So every poppy that's laid, every name that gets spoken, it keeps that promise that no stone and no soldier will ever be left alone.
Along with laying poppies, many of the students participating this year also wrote letters of reflection. Tom, what does this say when an initiative born right here in Alberta grows to involve tens of thousands of students across no fewer than 9 different nations?
It's wonderful. It's so well deserved. We have a Calgary version of that. It's called the Field of Crosses. So they set up around November every year 3,700 crosses representing the number of Southern Albertans who were killed. And they go on to have daily ceremonies. And just last night, a friend of mine who's not a child or anything, so I went down there and I was so moved by the ceremony. The only negative about this is they usually bring groups of school kids down there to do this, but because of the disruption with the teachers this year, they tell me that the number of school kids attending is down, and that's a shame.
It is indeed. Field of Crosses, very moving indeed. Now, Ellen, what resonates with you about something like No Stone Left Alone and the expanded role it now plays in the annual tradition of Remembrance Day?
Yeah, I think it's a lovely movement. I'm so proud of teachers and families and students who are embracing this. It kind of takes it from the more traditional ceremonies that have happened in the past to something more community-based, showing some public art, education programs. And I feel like it becomes more personal for the kids when they get to have this kind of involvement. And then, of course, they share that with their community, and it comes back to really celebrating Canada, celebrating those who have sacrificed for our safety. I'm really proud of what's happening, and I'm proud to be an Albertan. And I think that we're strong leaders here in our province, and how it's spread is fantastic. And I think everyone should make an effort to go down to Memorial Drive and remember.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, time for us to take a bit of a break, but when we come back, pumping in sunshine when you might not expect it, and a pitch for Canada's entry into Eurovision. More from our Primetime This Week panel in a moment. Welcome back. As we face months of darker winter days, an American company is pitching technology to bring some light into the shadows, and it comes as Albertans feel the effects of turning back our clocks an hour and pondering a different dynamic.
Not to change time anymore. Whatever, no, I never remember. I think it's the daylight that I would like to stay on and just keep on that forever.
I like the change of time, like the daylight savings part of it.
Okay, so what might bring some extra light? The company Reflect Orbital is developing satellite technology to reflect sunlight down to Earth.
We got a lot of submissions from people in northern latitudes about whether or not this can be provided in winter to help with vitamin D reception, but we're not making any health claims, but we are happy to try those demos.
The concept, though, has some concern about potential impact on ecology from added light at times it naturally wouldn't exist.
This is just a recipe for disaster on many levels. It would be weird. It would the brightness would not be constant through the night. There would be fluctuations up and down, and there would be activity all around you in the sky. Yeah, it would be a strange world.
We're really confident that when we show the demo next year and show the precision and control and explain how it works over time, that there's actually a world where these things can coexist quite well.
Now, early testing of the technology will attempt to energize solar farms in the evening. All right, Tom, I want to start with you this time. Could this be one of those instances where science fiction actually turns out to be science fact? What do you make of satellites reflecting sunlight down on Earth?
Lord, it is a terrible, terrible idea. My colleague Phil Langell hit it right on the head. It's monkeying with things that should not be monkeyed with. I mean, if you think about this whole field is called geoengineering, and there are other things like stratospheric aerosol injection. They've been talking about to deal with climate change. So this is an example of monkeying with something. You would, as Phil said, be completely weird to suddenly have light coming down. There would be unintended consequences. You know, the cows would stand up in the middle of the night and things like that. The other thing is, how much trouble is it to go out there and move your clocks? Well, this year I only found 2 clocks that didn't move themselves. One thing I will say, though, is we could use more sunlight or more solar, because Australia's just announced they're giving 3 hours of free electricity every day because they have so much solar. So yes to solar, no to space mirrors.
No to space mirrors. Okay. So, Ellen, your perspective, something to embrace, something to be fearful of.
Definitely fearful. Just to start off, this is totally outside of my wheelhouse. I think messing with Mother Nature in general is kind of dangerous territory. I also wonder, what kind of precedent setting is this? So if this moves forward, what's next? Like, it does kind of feel like it could be a science fiction story gone wrong. And how do you regulate something like this? So yeah, like I said, out of my wheelhouse, definitely fearful, agree with Tom and Professor. And yeah, just a no-go right off the top.
I think there are a lot of Albertans out there who may be reflecting that same perspective. All right, for us, one more topic, and that is a pitch from the federal government that would shine a spotlight of a different sort. This week's federal budget references securing a spot for our country in Eurovision, a song contest long known as a vehicle for nation building.
It really has been a mirror of the political and social change in Europe, and that's why people love to watch it as well.
The contest first held in 1956. Switzerland won then, and some say it's no wonder Canada wants in now.
The core countries of Eurovision are EU members with which Canada shares democratic values.
And while Canada has yet to join in, some Canadians already have. Switzerland famously borrowed Celine Dion in 1988, and she won. But Eurovision's inclusion in the federal budget with few details has hit a sour note with some, including a Conservative MP who posted, "Can't afford groceries? Don't worry. The Liberal budget is exploring participating by CBC in Eurovision." Some American tourists, though, are applauding the idea.
Canada, 100%. We have American Idol. It's kind of bad, but we're kind of bad, so it works. Like it fits what we're doing down there. So yeah, we don't deserve Eurovision.
Canada definitely, yes, should be involved. Yeah.
Eurovision, by the way, one of the world's most watched non-sporting events. Ellen, high time for Canada to grace the Eurovision stage?
You know, it feels like it's a bit of a distraction from our budget. From a PR perspective, we always look at the RACE acronym, Research, Action, Communication, Evaluation. So we're in the research phase. I'm wondering what the ROI on this is. This is like a PR plan. This is a campaign. You know, it's going to generate a lot of great social media content at the taxpayer dollar's expense. I'm wondering, you know, if we do look at our regulatory framework here in Canada, because our budget is so public sector heavy, then maybe we can grow our economy and have some sponsors from Canada, and the private sector can pay for this. I'm wondering how we pay for it. Is this taxpayers' dollars? I'm thinking, but anyway, it's a PR thing. Let's look at the ROI on it and show me the business model and the business plan.
All right, Tom, last 15 seconds to you. Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up. If Trump can get private donors to pay for the White House, for the ballroom, we could definitely find donors for this. Canada is moving closer and closer to Europe. Our researchers are now getting into Horizon Europe funding. So the reality is this is something whose time has come.
All right, we're out of time. Have to leave it there. Great to see you both. Hope you have an awesome weekend.
Thank you.